Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's ICRealtime webinar. In today's webinar, we'll be discussing pre-install planning, and this is going to be ICRealtime's recommended equipment for installation and maintenance. We'll be discussing in this webinar today a few of the tools that you will be required when going to an install, a couple of things that will help ensure that it's a smooth and easy install. We'll also be discussing a few tips for success when calling into our tech support team and a few tips for success when utilizing our smart software, including Smart ICRSS as well as ICRSS Pro. My name is Michael. I'm the product specialist here at ICRealtime, and let's get started. Of course, the right tools for the job. When installing an IP or analog camera system, having the right tools for the job is very important. Proper planning will make almost any install much smoother and easier. If you have the proper tools, you have a much better chance of getting every installation done right. So what we want to do is allow you installers the ability to find out exactly what tool that you need and how to use it when you get on site. Now, a computer monitor. You're going to always need a VGA or HDMI computer monitor for your installs. All ICRealtime NVRs, DVRs, AVRs do have VGA and HDMI outputs. Now, connecting the monitor with a VGA input does allow you to configure the recorder directly as opposed to using web interface if you don't know what the IP address of the recorder is. Now keep in mind that a VGA connection is important because when you're utilizing an HDMI input and the HDMI output from our NVRs, if that monitor resolution does not match the recorder's resolution, you may have an issue bringing up that recorder. When using HDMI, our recorders are set to 1024 by 768 resolution. If you're using a 1080p monitor, they may not communicate correctly. But if you use a VGA, you're always going to have that monitor pick up that recorder and allow you to configure the recorder directly. Once you do have that computer monitor connected, it does allow you to verify what the current IP address of that recorder is and allow you to modify it without having to use the web interface as well as our PC software to find that recorder on the network. You can log into the recorder directly, configure that IP address, or set the recorder to DHCP, power cycle it, and allow that recorder to pull an IP address. Then you can find it over your local area network. And of course, always keep in mind that a computer monitor does always allow you an alternate means of interfacing with the recorder. Options are always a good thing. So if you have the ability to configure either from the recorder or from the web interface, that's a great asset to have at your disposal. Windows-based laptop. Now you can utilize Mac, but in my experience over in tech support, a Windows-based laptop is always the most ideal tool and laptop to utilize for these installs, as they're pretty much status quo for any network install. And as you may know, when it comes to network video recorders and IP cameras, it's pretty much a network install. So Windows laptops are ideal. Keep in mind that IP cameras must be configured through a browser, making a laptop a must. So if this is an install where you're using a network switch, you absolutely have to have a laptop to configure your IP cameras. You can, if you have an ITM 9000, which we'll discuss later on in this webinar, fantastic. But ideally, you want to have an IP camera. Any IP camera that you do configure needs to be configured through a browser, again, making a laptop a must for your installs. Of course, having a Windows laptop does allow you ICRealtime suite of software. So if you're trying to locate your IP cameras over the network, you do have the ability to utilize our IP auto search tool, which will allow you to allow the software to find the IP cameras using the MAC address, then present those to you and allow you to modify those IP addresses if need be, or simply locate those cameras and log into them. When it comes to port forwarding, all routers and modems are configured through a browser. So this again makes a laptop on site a must. And if you plan on having an ICRealtime technician remote into your system for us to assist you, using your own laptop is what is recommended. This is ideally because when you arrive on an install, you don't want to use your end user's laptop to troubleshoot or configure a network. It kind of gives an unprofessional look. You do want to have your own laptop on site that you can just hop onto their network, have any of our technicians remote in and continue to assist you. So again, a Windows laptop on your installs is really, really ideal. So cabling and media, you do want to make sure that your cables are in good quality, that all your terminations on your Cat5 or Cat6 cables are good terminations. Same thing for your BNC connections. So you do want to make sure for your cable installations that you know the distances of your cable runs to ensure proper video and power throughput. You want to make sure that you do understand the differences in cable types: Cat5, Cat5e, Cat6 for Ethernet, Siamese cable, RG59, and coax, and power for your AVR and AVS installs. And they are vast differences. Cat5 is going to give you a 100 megabyte throughput, as where Cat5e will give you a 1 gigabyte throughput, and Cat6 will give you a 10 gigabyte throughput. So again, you want to make sure that you know the differences in these cable types. Once you do have your installs complete, always make sure that your cables are free of breaks or any kinks, and that the connectors are properly terminated, as any of these could negatively affect your bandwidth or the operation of the IP cameras or recorders. Do make sure that you have short run cables. Short run cables are very, very important for troubleshooting. If you've already got your cameras on their runs and then they're mounted and you're having issues with signal degradation, or if you're having or you may have a broken cable or a kink in the cable or interference, having those short run cables available to you allows you to test those directly at the recorder so that you can rule out cabling. If you bring your camera down and you run on a short run cable and you get a great signal, you know that it's your cable run. It tells you immediately that you have to look at your cables. If you bring it down, you put a short cable run and you're still having the same issue, that immediately tells you it's either the connection or the device itself. So a short run cable is ideal on your installs to give you that information to immediately troubleshoot any issue at hand. Generally, you want to make your short run cables about 3 feet in length. This helps you test for all of these issues. So a camera and cable tester. This is really the only way to know the quality of your connection with using our or any camera or cable tester. A cable tester will let you know if you're getting power from a PoE port that you intend to use an IP camera on. A camera tester will let you know if your camera is powered and if the image is good. Here at ICRealtime, we do provide an all-in-one solution, and that's with the ITM 9000. I really believe that every installer should have an ITM 9000 available to them and in their bag when going on any install. It works both as a spot monitor for analog, HD AVS, and IP cameras. You can also use the ITM 9000 to configure IP addresses for your IP cameras. Keep in mind, our ITM 9000 does have PoE, so it will allow you to power your IP camera. It will allow you to log into that IP camera. It'll also allow you to configure the IP address of that IP camera, making installs very easy. You'll also be able to get cable analytics such as PoE, voltage, amperage, as well as two-way data kilobyte flow. So keep in mind, an ITM 9000 is a tremendous tool to keep in your toolkit. Of course, ICRealtime.com is a great resource for tools made available for us for you to utilize. From our software downloads page along to our forum, you'll find a lot of helpful information on our website. In our software downloads page, you'll find software such as our ICIP, DVR, NVR Finder Utility. It's also called Config Tool when you install it. Our ELIP Finder Utility for all of our ELIP cameras. Of course, our Smart ICRSS remote client software, and our Smart.DAV player. Our forum page, which we find is very underutilized, is where we keep our monthly how-to notes, configuration guides, integration guides, and tutorials. And these are all created by the same ICRealtime techs that you talk to on a daily basis. So if you're in a time crunch and you don't have time maybe to wait on hold or to get a call back, utilizing ICRealtime.com and the ICRealtime.com forum is a fantastic way to get the answers that you need without actually having to get through to a technician. Of course, you do also have tools available to you, such as our storage calculator, as well as our field of view calculator at ICRealtime.com. I will tell you guys that our storage calculator is very good for figuring out how much storage you're going to need, but also how much bandwidth your specific cameras or your megapixel cameras are going to consume. That is really helpful and ideal in assisting you in speccing the right cameras and matching them to the right recorder. So when utilizing softwares, things like our ICIP, DVR, NVR Finder Utility, and ELIP Finder Utility are great tools that can help you find your cameras and recorders over the network. The ICIP, DVR, NVR Finder Utility does allow you to find recorders over local and wide area network. So you can utilize the ICIP, DVR, NVR Finder utility for remote cameras and recorders as well, as long as you've got the public IP address. You can change device IP addresses from within the software and set those IP addresses to static or DHCP. You can also factory reset devices from the software as well. And lastly, you can upgrade firmware from the software if the browser access is not available to you. So definitely something to keep in mind for your remote installs. Tech support. So tech support is probably one of the best tools that you will have at your disposal. This free service provided by ICRealtime is an immense asset, and here's what you'll need to get the most out of the tech support experience. So when calling in a tech support, please have all of your model numbers and serial numbers ready to give the tech support team. The model numbers are important for us to troubleshoot an issue. We have a wide range of models with many different functions and features. So having the correct model and serial number allows us to effectively troubleshoot that issue for you. The model and serial numbers can be found on the label of all of our hardware. They are generally placed on the bottom of recorders, on the top of our dome cameras, so the top being the flat surface where you would mount it, and then on the back of all of our bullet and box cameras. So when setting up remote access, it's one of our most requested services. When assisting you with remote access, there are some things that can be done to make this as efficient as possible. So when requesting remote access, do make sure that you have the IP addresses of the recorder and all of your IP cameras, as well as your router and modem ready for us if you do need port forwarding. And of course, this is to provide you a quick service, so that way you're not sitting on the phone for a long period of time trying to get this sorted out with our tech support team. Also, if port forwarding is necessary, please have the login credentials of the router and modem, or the router/modem combo ready for us when you call in as well. Again, this is all so that we can quickly respond to you guys and assist you guys so we can get you off the phone and back to completing your install. P2P does require that the recorder or IP camera be on the network. This means that the device needs to have an IP address, whether it's the IP address is given by you or you utilize DHCP. You would then save and power cycle if you're using DHCP, and then the recorder would pull an IP address from the network. Once that IP address is available, and if it's then you will more than likely show P2B status to be online. If your recorder is still using the 192.168.1.108 IP scheme or IP address, chances are likely that you haven't pulled an IP address. You want to pull something from the scheme of that network, and this is required. So something to keep in mind before you call in tech support for P2P troubleshooting. If your P2P shows offline, you need to repeat the steps above. If that doesn't work, then give us a call here at ICRealtime. So for firmware, updating firmware can resolve a lot of bug-related issues. Proper identification of the hardware is essential in providing the correct firmware for your hardware. When calling in a tech support, please have your serial number and software version and build date ready for your tech support agent. If all model number, software version, build date information is provided to your tech support, they can send you firmware in the field or forward it to you if you have ready when you arrive on site. Firmware for our hardware is very specific, and great care and caution must be taken when applying firmware. Please refer to an ICRealtime tech before applying firmware to a model you are not certain that firmware is for. Again, there is a limit to how early of a device we can update. At a certain point, device chipsets do become what we call legacy in our industry. So at a certain point, generally for tech support, 2012 or early 2013, that's kind of the cutoff point. We will not update any earlier than that because the chipsets have just changed too dramatically. And more than likely, any newer firmware would brick that machine because of that change in chipset and board. So tech support is also your contact for creating a ticket number for an RMA. So when calling in a tech support, there are some things to know. Tech support needs either a serial number or a sales order to complete ticket for your return, repair, or replacement. Advanced replacements are for items purchased within the last 30 days. Any product past the 30-day cutoff must be sent in for evaluation before repair or replacement. The serial number for most of our hardware is called the SEL number, and on our labels is generally prefaced with the model number of the device. For example, ICIP D2001 IR is the model number. 1502 MEC 05009 would be the full serial number. So of course, the more information you can provide about the issue that you're having, that you're sending out the RMA for, the easier identifying and duplicating that issue will be, so we can successfully troubleshoot that issue and identify it. Well, thank you very much for joining us in today's IC Real-Time webinar, and have a great rest of your day.